Overwatch 2 has had two hero designs and concepts and ideas in the characters of Lifeweaver and Mauga that within gameplay have failed. That's what I'm going to be talking about today. I ask that when we're watching this video, you watch it with a bit more of an open mind and hear me out in what I'm talking about. I'll be trying to fit all of this in a specific time frame, so I might not be able to get in all my points. Those things will be discussed down below, and I'll be explaining why I think that Mauga and Lifeweaver are two great examples of a failed hero design. Like, just the core idea of their gameplay is just fundamentally flawed for a game like Overwatch. And while one of them has kind of stabilized, one of them might just never find a place in the game. Before we get into the video, everyone, have a look at the statistic over here. Check this out. More than half of you are not subscribed to the channel, but you come back to watch the videos anyway. Guys, if you're enjoying the comments and you enjoy discussions and you just enjoy Overwatch everything, then feel free to hit like and subscribe. It helps with the channel, helps with the algorithm. We keep talking about Overwatch. We talk about the ups, the downs, the goods, the bads. Everything Overwatch is on this channel. So if you love Overwatch, or if you hate Overwatch and you just want to stick around and just listen to me talk about it, then just, dude, hit the subscribe button and stay around, you know, like, let's form a big group and let's keep talking Overwatch, because that's what I do over here every day, every other day. So with that being said, let's start the video. Let's talk about the two failed hero design concepts within Lifeweaver and Mauga. They're in the thumbnail, so obviously these two are the ones that I'm going to be talking about, and why I also think 𝐒𝐈𝐈 almost reached this point, but they were able to find a good middle ground with her, so she's fine. I don't have a problem with 𝐒𝐈𝐈. I think she's okay. So we're not going to talk about 𝐒𝐈𝐈. Her video is going to come up in the future because, you know, she is getting buffed. Ignoring 𝐒𝐈𝐈 and talking about Lifeweaver and Mauga. What's important to understand going forward with the concepts of new heroes, we have to have a vision for the hero in mind. And I feel like I've kind of cracked the code in the way that they design the heroes, and they don't necessarily think about gameplay until very late into the cycle. And once they get into that point, there are times where they actually embarrass themselves. And number one time we saw this was with Lifeweaver, and then number two where we saw this was with Mauga. Now, what am I actually talking about? Basically, what I am trying to share or imply over here is when the Overwatch team is designing their heroes, they're more concerned about making them like one-to-one with their lore and the character, like within the actual in-lore universe, and making sure to be able to reflect those abilities, rather than considering the gameplay impact that some of these or most of these newer characters are going to have in mind. So, for example, we know that Mauga was supposed to be the Talon Assault Heavy, and while he has some notable differences from the Talon Assault Heavy from the Archives events, the main identity of this character, as Alec Dawson likes to use that term, main identity, is that he's the minigun guy. And unfortunately, his entire gameplay loop is completely revolving around minigun. You know, everything he does is minigun, and that's just who he is. In fact, let's just rename him and call him Mauga the Minigun or something like that. Then you have Lifeweaver, and honestly, when it came to Lifeweaver, everything about him was so, like, pretty, and they wanted to express that in everything that they made for him with his abilities and all this type of stuff, where they were like, okay, look at how this cool animation, like, look how cool this animation looks. Look how he can swap, and then the thorns come out, and then you can shoot the thorns, and then the thorns have a beautiful animation. Like, seriously, Lifeweaver has some of the most gorgeous animations I've seen in an individual character within a video game, but there's no denying that that fundamental aspect of him is actually what holds back a lot of power within his kit. Now, like I said, they've kind of stabilized on Lifeweaver, but there's no denying that Lifeweaver is still one of the flawed hero designs. They were able to bounce back, but it took a lot. Like, they over-buffed the life out of him. See what I did there? Because Lifeweaver buffed the life out of him. It's really, I'm really sleepy. Just bear with it, man. Anyways, so the problem with Mauga is his entire gameplay is revolving around miniguns, and because of this, even the way he like life steals and everything is involving the miniguns. There are ways to make like Mauga better and then Lifeweaver better, but the problem isn't that. Like, we've talked about this many times in many different videos. The problem is that when we're designing these heroes from the ground up, the first thing that we should be thinking about is an objective, is a vision. What do we want from our next DPS hero? What do we want from our next tank hero? What do we want from our next support hero? Let's kind of adjust the lore and the characterization feats of that character to fit this like gameplay narrative, and then let's design the character completely and put them into the game. Like, I feel like it's one, like, this is the thing that perhaps is causing hero design problems, like they're able to get away with some things, right? But if two of your newest heroes in almost like a full year span of Overwatch, or like less than half a year span since Lifeweaver to Mauga, they're not that far apart from each other. If two of them were almost failures in design, if you somehow reach this point for the third time where a hero was failed in design and needed either massive buffs or massive nerfs, or pretty much everybody fundamentally agreeing that the hero needs a full complete rework, then you're doing a very bad job. And I'm scared because of it. That's kind of the point of this video. Like, I'm scared that maybe not the DPS hero, because DPS heroes are very easy to make in design. They're just shoot and do damage, and if things are not going good, then you reduce the damage numbers here and there. It's when you come down to tank and support that I personally feel like I'm really worried for the future of the roles, because they might just lean too much into either a gimmick when it comes to Mauga, or either aesthetics when it comes to like Lifeweaver. And if we continue to get characters like this where they just want like this one core identity and simplified gameplay, it's just not going to work. And on that same note, I kind of want to rant about this. Why do they keep thinking that making easier heroes where they have a low like low barrier for entry and then a very low skill ceiling but like high reward is what people enjoy? If you actually do your own research, I've done this many times, and if you do your own research, forget the hero popularity. Even if you just go and search up hero guides, the most popular hero guides are for pretty much all the quote-unquote difficult characters to play. From tank, you're going to find characters like Doomfist, Winston, Junker Queen, you know, like that type of character slot, right? Then from the damage role, you're going to see people going crazy and wanting to learn how to play Tracer, Genji, you know, and nowadays even Sombra's been getting a lot of like views on the guides for her, because these are a little bit more of the complex and like they're characters that have a lot more depth in their kit, have a lot more depth in the way that they can interact with the game, and that attracts people, that when they sit down and they play it, they're very interested in being able to like fully learn these characters. You go to their like respective Reddits for like, for example, Genji mains or Reinhardt mains, people are sharing text, people are sharing ideas to like the way you can approach a duel. Like, this is what makes it enjoyable. Like, if you go to Reddit Mauga mains, okay, well, let's not talk about that, because all they do is sit there, talk about how cool it is to just look at another tank and beam them down in the span of a few seconds. Like, you know, thumbs up. That's peak gameplay right there for a first-person shooter, where there's barely any thought process. And let's just not jump into that end of the shark pool. But, you know, even if you look at support, like, people are learning, like, how to do Lucio rollouts. So they're learning how to do, like, the ways that they can kind of, like, quote-unquote, master like Brigitte and the way that she can block, because Brigitte is definitely harder to play in 5v5, and I really love the way she is in 5v5. I don't think she's overly well overpowered. She's definitely strong, but she's a situational support, like Iliari as well, who's strong, but she's a situational support, and I think that's okay to have. They're both, Brig and Iliari, are difficult to play in their own different ways, and if you're not able to like be disciplined in playing them, you're not going to be rewarded for them. But however, when you spend time with these characters, let's say from support, you're playing Ana, Brig, Iliari, or Lucio, or even in this case, Mercy's movement and trying to master that. Once you get it down, it feels very satisfying. You know, recently I've been learning Mercy's movement because I want to do a Mercy guide, and I took it upon myself that I want to learn the hero in depth first, and I've been really having a lot of fun. You know, like going through that learning aspect of, yeah, you know, I want to do this like in-depth thing on this character. The same thing like when on DPS, like one of my biggest challenges is that I was never a good Tracer player, but you know, to the people that have been watching my content, they've been seeing me improve on Tracer slowly. I'm still not fully confident on her, but I understand the mistakes I make. I like VOD reviewing myself, and I know that, hey, once I get better, I can maybe start playing like proper. You know, that's the dream at the end of the day. Or, you know, like all the other great Tracer players over the years. We got Prophet, like, you know, and all sorts of other people. Basically, my idea here is like, you have that vision for yourself that, damn, I really want to play like that too. You know, like the same thing like in Widowmaker. Widowmaker is a bit more of a simplistic, easy character since she's pretty much a point-and-click adventure, but she requires you to be very disciplined, very precise. So once you get that going, you're like the superstar, and it feels really good, right? You feel like you've captured the addiction of that hero. And unfortunately, you know, and sorry, but one last example, because I want to give every role, you know, some credit where it's due. Another character that represents this type of depth in gameplay is Doomfist and Winston. They're both like, in a way you can kind of dumb down Winston, and you can also somewhat dumb down Doomfist, but both of them have such like in-depth intricacies in the way that you can play them that people just love flocking to them. With all the Winton memes aside and the Doomfist criers aside, like both of them are incredibly fun to play, and the reason for that is just because there's so many ways that you can improvise and adapt on the fly and do things differently and find a way around the comp with these characters that people just love playing them, right? And for some strange reason, I'm sure there's a vocal minority that doesn't want to do that, and I fully understand and respect that. But I feel like from a development point of view, when you're trying to make a competitive shooter, trying to dumb things down is not the path that you want to go, because you're actively discouraging the player base, and you're like demotivating and kind of like no, yeah, discouraging and demotivating the player base from number one, like getting better at the game, and then number two, because it's like, hey, if you like, why would you spend all this time learning this character that requires like 300 hours to be good at, when you can just play this other character that you can spend like 3 hours and you'll get good at them immediately and get value and then climb SR? Like, this is not what we should be trying to promote in a game like Overwatch 2, right? Because then if the character is easier to play, there's an argument that can be made that perhaps this character is paid to win, right? This character is paid to win because they're just so easy to play. Like, I mean, like Mauga, I don't think there should even be a debate that Mauga is somewhat paid to win. For sure, he's paid to win. He's incredibly overwhelming right now. And, we got nerfs coming for him tonight. But my point in all of this, that when I compare characters, like in this case, if we just look at tank, if we compare a character like Doomfist to Mauga, right? Doomfist is by far one of the most popular tanks in the game. People love playing it. People love playing Ryan and Winston compared to playing Mauga. And why is that? Well, there's just so many fun ways that you can interact with the game, and I feel like that should be the design of heroes. I don't understand how we have the same hero development team that made Ram and Junker Queen that are all about incentivizing, being proactive, and doing your thing, and being rewarded for it, to then jumping over to Mauga where they were like, okay, let's just kind of forget everything we did that made great heroes, and then just do this other thing where we take all the frustrating aspects of characters like Roadhog and Bastion, put it into one character, and people are going to love it. Like, it's so crazy, And then, like, on the support end of things, you have Lifeweaver, where people really enjoy playing. Well, support is a bit of a diverse role. People enjoy playing support for different reasons, obviously. But I'm not going to sit here and deny that, like Lifeweaver, out of all the supports in the game, is very boring. Like, I would argue that even Moira is more fun to play because she just encourages, like, there is a playstyle for her that encourages proactivity and encourages, like, hey man, go do something and not just stand here and just hold a button that will do the job for you. Lifeweaver, I really enjoy playing Lifeweaver when I kind of just want to relax and chill out. But there's no denying that after just like one or even like 1.5 games of playing Lifeweaver, I just get so incredibly bored. I'm like, I wish I could do something more. Like, imagine if I could throw like this pedal platform in front into a zone that might like a flanker might be coming through, or a tank might push through, and it can create like a slow field of like vines that can slow people down, and just different unique ways to create proactive situations, or like, like his thorns, rather than being like this like sustained damage, there could be like triple bursts. So it'll just be more fun to use and more like precise, and there's just so many more ways to even take the existing kits of characters and make them more fun to play. But again, it's just like what I'm seeing is that with the recent heroes, like in Lifeweaver and Mauga, they're trying to dumb things down, and that scares me for not the next DPS character, but the next support that comes after that, Space Ranger. They said that Space Ranger is going to have their identity based around her movement on being able to go vertical, and that's fine and all, but if they end up making her like another support that's just like pretty much like, for lack of better words, and please excuse me here, brain dead gameplay where it's just, hey, press this button, press that button, it'll do everything for you. This is not how you encourage people to play a role. It just gets boring. In fact, I would even argue that one of the reasons people don't enjoy playing tank is more often than not, the most boring tanks are the ones that end up becoming meta. Like Zarya, like, I like playing Zarya here and there, but I'm not going to sit here and lie. Like, Zarya is incredibly boring. Like, there's nothing that encapsulates Overwatch that's about it. There's nothing unique about it. It's just a basic point-and-click character. Like, I want to do some fun things on tank. I want to play some Doom, some Ryan, some Winston, maybe some Sig and Diva here and there, and do some shenanigans. But I'm like, no, well, you have to play Zar, you have to play Orisa, you have to play Roadhog. And, shout out to my Wrecking Ball mains. The Wrecking Ball is a very unique character, and he's kind of garbage. And as you can see, like, people like playing the more proactive, the more in-depth level of gameplay-based characters. But for some strange reason, the development team thinks that, no, if we keep creating these dumbed-down versions of characters where things can become easier, and this is also seen in some hero reworks when we go over to Bastion, in the way that they reworked him, because I'm not going to lie, this current iteration of Bastion is like miles easier to play than the old Bastion we had, because there was a bit more risk if you messed up your positioning. And then like some other stuff here and there with like the minor changes and reworks to certain characters. I just feel like they want to keep making things easier, but the enjoyment in 2016 of Overwatch and the most popular heroes like Tracer, Genji, etc., is the fact that these characters that are more difficult to play are unique. People love sitting down, making mistakes on them, learning from it, and then doing better. That's the whole point of games, is to come back, do better, pop off. And if your character just doesn't encourage that, people get bored of a season. And this season of Mauga and a little bit of the Lifeweaver season, where he was a complete joke, those two seasons have proven that. Also, on that same note, has anybody noticed how they've not made a single dive character, or like a dive tank for that matter? Every tank has been like a brawl tank. There's something to think about, and I have a video coming about this called Why the Dev Team Hates Dive. We'll talk about this in the future, but that's going to be it for today's video. Guys, let me know, do you think Mauga and Lifeweaver are failed designs? And if so, do you think, Lifeweaver has been kind of, saved, life saved, right? They kind of stabilized on him. They found a bit of an identity for him, but I'm not going to lie, he's the most boring support in the game to play. I'd rather play Moira. At least in my personal opinion. I do enjoy playing him, but, I just wish he could do more. On to Mauga. Mauga's a massive mess, and we spoke about it for a few weeks now. In your opinion, do you think this is the right way for Overwatch to go down? If yes, please explain. If not, please explain. With that being said, I will see you in the next video. Please do subscribe. Helps the channel for free. If you want to help the channel financially, you can use Super Chat down below. See you in the next one.